Hello and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy, bringing you another exciting episode. Another exciting episode of our favorite online software, video processing software, VidBlaster. Today we're using the beta version 3.32, and we better turn the cell phone off before we get in trouble. Sorry about that, folks. You know, always remember, turn your cell phone off before you start your show. Should be on my checklist. You know, the premise that we started with on this show, this coming July is actually going to be 3 years. Holy cow. The premise was that one guy with one PC and the right software could do an awesome broadcast. And, I still believe it's true. I don't know whether this broadcast qualifies for awesome is up to you to decide. But you can do it. One guy with one PC can do it. And I don't have a room full of computers. I will say that I am cheating just ever so slightly in that I have a second PC that's running the chat room. So that I've got the chat room full screen and really big type so that I can see it, really big font so that I can see it more easily. But that's the only cheat that I've made. We're actually broadcasting and streaming and recording and producing all on one PC. It's an i7-2600K processor with a solid-state hard drive and a bunch of RAM and all that other stuff. In fact, if you watch to the end of the show, we'll have the configuration on the trailer there at the end, so you can see it then if you want to. Today we're going to talk about resolutions. Because the questions that I get so often are about resolution, and resolution is a real tough thing to do. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the screen capture and about the new version of VidBlaster coming out 3.35 shortly. A little housekeeping real quick, and we'll get it out of the way, promise real quickly. I'm an authorized reseller for VidBlaster. And so if you go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, you can see about VidBlaster. If you want to purchase it from us, you get free support for life, your life or my life, whichever comes first. And I'm going to live a long time. And we're happy to help you with configuration. We also design and build custom PCs, and we do consulting. We've got and we do mentoring. We've got one company kind of under our wing right now that we're helping them get their video arm up and running, so that they can promote themselves through the use of videos. So that's a lot of fun. There's always something kind of going on here with VidBlaster. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. That way you'll get a notice whenever we post new shows. We post a couple of shows a week, and we'd love to have you in on that. And let's see, what else? If you're watching us live, of course, don't forget to pop into the chat room so that you can see what's going on in chat. And welcome to the folks in chat, Martin, Dave, Jerry, Kent, and it looks like a couple other folks that aren't logged in, but that's okay. Glad to have you on board. So let's talk about resolutions. Resolutions are really important. VidBlaster will do within itself, within its own kind of internal processing, it will do a bunch of different resolutions. Some of those resolutions are widescreen resolutions, that is 16:9 aspect ratio, what you might see on a widescreen monitor or on a widescreen TV these days. Some of the other resolutions are 4:3 aspect ratio, which would be the old-time TV, the old-timey TVs. VidBlaster also does NTSC and PAL, and those come in wide and standard, wide and TV aspect ratio variations too. So anywhere from, say 320 by 180 all the way up to 1920 by 1080 would be the resolutions that are available in VidBlaster. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that your cameras are going to do that, but in terms of VidBlaster's processing, when it streams, you can choose the resolutions within those. When it records, you can choose the resolutions in those. And then whatever it's doing within itself, you can do at those resolutions. When you start VidBlaster for the very, very first time, let's say you want to go you want to go to the VidBlaster forum, and you want to, it's just off the screen at the top. Sorry about that. That's forum.vidblaster.com. And you want to go to the forum, and you want to go to the downloads section. And in the downloads section, you can download, there it is, you can download a trial edition of VidBlaster for free. And actually, you can use it forever for free. It just has a logo in it. So whenever you stream or record, it'll stream and record with the VidBlaster logo in it. But you can go to forum.vidblaster.com, download the trial edition. When you put it on your PC and fire it up from the very, very first time, it fires up in what's called the default profile. Now, and I could I'd show it to you, but I'm using it right now. And the default profile has got 5 modules on it, and it doesn't take much of the screen, and it comes up in a pre-selected video resolution. It comes up in 320 by 240, which 320 by 240, of course, is a 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's not widescreen like what you're seeing now. It's more that narrow TV screen. And it's also pretty pixelated. In fact, let's pop over. I'm going to actually reconfigure mine to 320 by 240. Well, let's do it, and I'll show you what it looks like, because it'll be all squished up. So I'm going to freeze for just a second while we do this, and then VidBlaster is going to reconfigure itself, and then I will come back on as soon as it's through reconfiguring. Basically, every module has to be changed. And so we're going to go back to it, and we'll come back to that. And you can see I'm kind of narrow because I'm in a 4:3 aspect ratio, but all my cameras are widescreen. Let's go to 320 by 180, which is a widescreen resolution. And so I'm going to freeze for a second. And we'll go back to that one. VidBlaster right now is kind of reconfiguring all of its modules for this new 320 by 180 resolution. And there I am, 320 by 180. But you can see, and I'm looking over at it now, it's pretty pixelated. So if you fire up VidBlaster for the very first time, and you've got a high-def camera on there, and you've got a great capture card, and you look at it and you say, ugh, this looks bad. Why in the world does it look like this? Well, it looks like this because you haven't adjusted the resolution. So you would go to the video menu, which is the top left-hand corner of the screen, click video, it drops down to resolution, and then you could choose an appropriate resolution. The next up from this one would be, this is 320 by 180. So if you double those numbers, 320 becomes 640 and 180 becomes 360. So if we did 640 by 360, I'm going to reconfigure it to that. And I'm going to freeze for a second. It's going to be a much nicer resolution. It's going to be much clearer. It will be far less pixelated than what you just saw. And let me make it live now. So this is 640 by 360. And you can see this is a little bit better. This is a little bit better. The next up on the VidBlaster scale from this one would be a resolution. And again, we're talking about the widescreen. And we're not going to use the PAL, P-A-L. PAL is for the European market. And we're going to use the NTSC, which is for the North American and Japanese market, I think. I'm including Japanese. And let's see, let's put the captions on there so that you can see the difference in the quality there. Thank you. That was Martin in the chat room making that suggestion. Thank you, Martin. In fact, why don't we'll throw the chat up for just a second so you can compare the chat. And that's just a screen capture at 360. And we're going to bump up just incrementally to 720 by 406. And in VidBlaster, this is called standard definition wide. So I'm going to freeze for just a second. And we're going to go, essentially it's the second number that we want to be paying attention to here. And in this case, the second number has gone, we started out at 180, and then we went to 360, and now we're going to 406. So here is 406. There might be, you might notice a little difference. Again, the quality difference is not going to be a whole lot from 360 to 406. So that's, 46. So that's maybe 12% better would be my guess. 12% better. Then let's go up to the next one, which will be 480. And in my case, since we're doing it widescreen, it's going to be 864 by 480, and in VidBlaster this is called standard definition NTSC wide. So we'll pause for a sec and we'll reconfigure. We're not using VidBlaster to stream or record, so we can sort of play with it while we're doing this. If you were streaming and recording, this would bomb everything out. So this is going to be, this is where we started the show right here, which is 480. Now we can go up the scale a little bit further if I had a fast enough PC, but I don't. My PC is an old i7, but the next levels for VidBlaster would be 960 by 540, which is some people call it quad or 1/4 HD. And then 1280 by 720, which is sort of the minimal HD, and then 1920 by 1080. I'm not going to get into P's and I's on this one. But suffice to say, the whole purpose is really sort of answer some of the questions that have been coming my way from folks about why VidBlaster looks pixelated. Well, it looks pixelated probably because you're still using the default resolution. You haven't changed it. The other thing that you want to change when you fire up VidBlaster for the very first time is the frame rate. If you're in the US, you want to switch to 30 frames a second. VidBlaster in default is set up in European, so it's set up for 25 frames a second, which has to do with the way electricity cycles, 50,000 cycles a second or something like that. Anyway, so the Europeans go with 25 frames or 50 frames a second. And the North Americans go with 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second. Go into your TV store and ask the guy about that and the refresh rate. And if you're in the US, it'll be some factor of 60. It'll be 60 or 120 or 240 or something like that. But that's for frame rate, not to be confused with the resolution. So if you're using VidBlaster for the first time and it seems to be pixelated, then you'll want to check the resolution in VidBlaster and make sure it is what you expect. Now, there are other resolutions. There are the PAL resolutions, and then there are the standard aspect ratio, 4:3 aspect ratio. We're not going to get into those because I'm not in Europe, number one, and number two, I don't recommend you use a 4:3 ratio. It's much nicer to have the extra real estate out here, even if you're not going to use it, because the folks that are watching you, either on YouTube or live or whatever, they're probably going wall to wall, and so you end up with those black bars on the side. And remember, when you're making your graphics, to make your graphics for the resolution that you're going to be using, especially for the aspect ratio you're going to be using. So if you're going to be using a 16:9 aspect ratio, make sure your graphics have that kind of base to it. All right, let's move along from that. Any questions? No questions? Okay, here we go. Coming up in VidBlaster soon, don't know how soon yet, will be version 3.35. I suspect, unless something is really big in the works that we don't know about yet, it probably will just be an incremental upgrade. The only changes that I know about for sure were posted in the VidBlaster forum that talk about the fact that Scale Engine, a CDN, will be added to the list of CDNs, so you can have one-click connection to Scale Engine, and that the screen capture, the new module screen capture that was introduced in version 3.30, will be modified to add the ability to crop it. Now remember, this screen capture module allows you actually to capture a window. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows up right now on my PC, and I could tell VidBlaster capture a particular window. When it does that, it's going to capture the window, all the frame, all the decoration around it, all the headers and the footers. But the new modification in version 3.35 will allow us to crop out the headers and footers and the borders on the different sides so we can get just what we want. It's the equivalent of, and I'm going to switch over just to kind of this pre-show shot right here. It's the equivalent of this shot right here, where on that side, that's a screen capture, and that looks like this. And I've basically just captured that portion. I haven't had to crop out anything because I was just able to basically drag and drop on the screen and capture that part. With the new screen capture module, which I suspect is going to be more, well, it's already been introduced, and I think it's more efficient CPU-wise, and it will have the ability to crop, and already has the ability to capture a window that is hidden. That is a big deal. So you can stack up windows and push them off the screen and still have the real estate available. And if you want to capture a Skype guest or something like that and still have his video available, you can, even though you may not need to look at the Skype window, so you can cover it up with something else that you do need to look at. So that's going to be pretty cool. We'll keep our eye out for that and let you know when that gets here. But 3.34 appears to be really good. Give it a look, and again, you can download it at the forum.vidblaster.com in the download section. If you haven't already, go ahead and sign up and get a screen name in the forum. If you're not a licensed user, you're kind of restricted to where you can post. You can post in the support section, but you can't post in the other sections, which is okay. I can't imagine that's a big deal. But you can read the other sections, and there's some great conversations with guys that have been around the block a lot of times, and there's a lot of great information in there. It's kind of fun. I'll go in and look and see, and there'll be a bunch of people in there, and some of them are searching the forums for this or that, and others are reading threads, and so it's a lot of fun. I'm one of the mods on there, and so give me a shout out, and I'll give you a shout out. If you've got a question you think I can help with on there, just send me a note over the forum direct message system, and I'd be happy to help you on any of that. The current screen capture that I'm using, again, it's this one right here, which really translates to that right there, and I'm just capturing a window. Is that this one? No, this is the new one. The new screen capture. Sorry, my notes weren't clear. The new screen capture module allows you to specify the frame rate of the capture. And so if you've got something like this that you're trying to capture, then you can set that to a frame rate of 1. So essentially it's 1 frame a second, which is certainly going to be fast enough to capture anything that folks might be posting if it were a chat room, or if you wanted to display a web page and you were demonstrating how the web page was working, as long as you weren't scrolling or something like that where the movement became choppy, you could get away with 1 frame a second and basically save a little extra CPU at that point. So there's a little tip for you for the new screen capture module, to set the frame rate to 1 when you're viewing a static or infrequently changing image. So that's screen capture, introduced in version 3.30. Today I'm using the broadcast edition today, version 3.34, and I've got the macros set up today. Went ahead and redid my macro system. It's amazing how out of date that can get when you take out a module and put in another module, and one of the modules that you took out was included in one of the macros. Suddenly things don't work quite as well. And it was nice to be able to go in very quickly and put that up. I've got 5 different macros set up, and they just basically do some of the basic setups that I wanted to do right here for you guys today. Coming up in the future, Probably not next week, but I think the week after that. Well, I'll have to get back to him to tell for sure. Ted Kashmirzak from Tally Lights will be on the show. You remember we introduced the Tally Lights a while back and have played with them, and they're great. They're a lot of fun. But if you're in a studio environment or another environment where Tally Lights would be effective, they can be really great, and they work easily with VidBlaster. And we also have coming up in the future a representative from Chatwing. Remember, Chatwing is the chat service that we use. And again, right here, we've got it captured in the screen. And Chatwing is introducing some new features, which I don't know if they're waiting for NAB to do that, but they've got some stuff they're rolling out. So as soon as they get that rolled out, they want to bring it over and show it off with us. So hat tip to Kent for turning us on to Chatwing, and we'll have the big wigs from Chatwing in to talk with us. I think in 3 weeks, but it could possibly be sooner. We would just have to see about that. So that about brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've got a question that you think I can help with, shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, and I'd be happy to chat with you about that. If it's an extended support need, we may ask you to buy a support package. They start at $20 for one issue, or you can buy a whole year's support for $100. Or if you buy VidBlaster, for us, doesn't matter which package or what upgrade, you get free support for life. If you're putting together a project and you just want to bounce some ideas off somebody, it's not necessarily specific to software, but it could be the hardware and cameras and all that kind of stuff. We'd be happy to chat with you about that too. We can do a live video conference either through Skype or some of the other services, and hopefully get you started on the right track. We'll also mention that if you go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, and into our streaming accessories page, you can see some of the hardware software that we use in putting this show together. I mean, the stuff that's tried and tested, and all of the listings include a link to the Amazon network where you can purchase it. We get a small affiliate commission when that happens. And also is a brief description of what it is, and also a personal statement from me as to how I use it. For example, the USB frame grabber, the EasyCap. There's one brand in particular that I know works first time every time, and in fact I've had up to 3 of them installed on one PC at a time, and it's a great way to capture standard definition video very inexpensively. You end up with lots of extra wires and cables and stuff, but that's the price of being inexpensive, is you're inconvenienced a little bit, but it seems to do pretty well. So all that stuff's there at the streaming accessories portion of the Eastern Shore Broadcasting website, and I would commend that to you. Let's see, what else? I was telling Dave in pre-show today, you know, a brain is a terrible thing to waste. Well, if you're watching live, hang on, and we'll get into the pre-show, and then we have another segment we're going to be taping after that. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, and we'll be posting new shows, new VidBlaster Guy shows on Wednesdays, and Streaming Idiot shows on Fridays. And if you'd like an advance notice of when we've got something going on that's a little out of the ordinary, go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and look on the right-hand side, and you can click our little contact form for exclusive video content. So we would love to have you there for that. We've had a lot of folks sign up recently, so that's always nice. So that brings us kind of to the end of the show. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster Guy. It has been a treat to be with you today. I hope you'll come back and see me again real soon. Y'all take care. You hear?